So it's difficult to not be too repetitive about this because, I mean, I already talk about it in other places, particularly I think introduction video for Powers of Nine. But I mean, the rebirth experience itself is really this sensation that one can have through a meditative experience, or perhaps not just meditative experience, but a general experience that one can have, where we actually push through an energetic membrane and come out into a space where we have a lucidity and clarity which is more clear and more lucid than perhaps any other experience that we have, perhaps with the exception of being on drugs. But this is a much cleaner and much more natural sensation of being totally present, totally lucid, totally clear. Now, I believe also that this is a lost spiritual teaching, and the reason why I'd say that it's a lost spiritual teaching is, but first of all, because it's not being taught at all, and having had the experience myself and seeing the value in that experience, it feels like this is really something that should be out there on the spiritual smorgasbord of practices. But also, like, it's clear that the ideas of rebirth, reincarnation, they have been around pretty much all parts of the globe and from a long time in different cultures. And my own sense of this is that probably over time, teachings of rebirthing, which meant to rebirth in this very life into this space of total clarity and lucidity, that those teachings over time got either slightly lost, slightly softened, slightly downgraded, and they became the ideas of rebirth and reincarnation that survive still in some cultures and some religions today. That doesn't mean to say that there might not be reincarnation and rebirth. I don't really know about that, but what I do know is that one can have this sense of rebirthing, and I describe it always as pushing through an energetic membrane, and this is just the first stage, because that membrane, just like any birth, the sensation of having that birthing experience can move right the way down through the body. So, and I mean, this is why, I mean, obviously virgin births, the virgin birth that we most think about is that of Jesus Christ, was born of a virgin. So for me, what we're really talking about there is Jesus wasn't born of a virgin, he was born of a mother who had intercourse with the father, and then at a later stage during his life he was born of the virgin. I had this, I mean, if a virgin became pregnant and then they were to give birth, then because there hadn't been penetration, the hymen layer would still be intent, and then the experience of the birthing for the baby would be, we would also have to push through this hymen layer, which normally wouldn't be there on a normal birth. So to be born of the virgin is to have this experience, and this is an area where it's more difficult to transmit, but also there is a sense of being born. In my own personal experiences, I had sensations of rebirthing where I really felt like I was coming out of Mother Earth, if you like. So that is one aspect of that. But Jesus, of course, isn't the only exceptional birth, virgin birth, that has been recorded in time. I don't really have that information on the top of my head, but there have been predecessing stories before that time where the key spiritual figurehead, character, whatever, was either had miraculous births or actual virgin births, I think, as well. There's also a teacher from Indonesia who started a spiritual movement, religion, I'm not sure, called Subud. And I haven't actually found up like solid, concrete evidence that this is the case, but I was once told, actually by my dad, who had been told by another guy. And the thing for me that was really interesting in all this, that I had already started to have this experience of pushing through some sort of energetic membrane, and apparently that's also what this guy, whose name I also don't remember, I think it's very hard to pronounce as well, so he also describes this pushing through an energetic membrane, or I'm not sure the terminology he uses, and once we come through this layer, then we have this sense of being present, being awake, which is stronger, more clear, more lucid than any experience that we may have had in the past. So, I mean, of course, we are all present on a day-to-day basis. For example, I managed to do certain things, meet up with people at certain times, and do basic functional things at different times. And also, sometimes I'm listening to a friend, or I'm talking to someone, and I feel that I'm present, I'm aware. And in the 31 planes of existence, which is the Buddhist teaching on the order of cosmology, the basis for the Powers of Nine book, you know, there's the human level, and then there's 6 more layers above that, and I would say the 11th plane, which is the 6th layer after the human plane, below it you've got the hell realms. I'd say this plane is that space of being totally aware, totally lucid, awakened state. And then in the human level, we're already understand to connect to a certain amount of presentness, i.e. that is what we need to guide and inform our day-to-day lives, without being too clouded by murkier levels, i.e. mind being caught up on stuff all the time. So in the human level, we're already quite clear, free from all that mental stuff, and most of us have many moments where we are clear. And then the subsequent 6 layers are all refinements and degree of presence and clarity which we're able to attain to or tune into. My own personal sensation was that once one came out through the rebirthing, then you were, like, for me, in plane 11. Although the initial rebirthing here, just like any birth, the head comes out if the baby is positioned well, and then the sphincter muscles relax a bit at the neck. Then they need to dilate big time to let the shoulders out, and then the heart passes, the heart chakra would pass, and then the sphincter muscles would relax a little bit around the hips, around the waist, if you like. And then one more time they'd have to dilate again to pass the hips, and then the legs would usually come out quite easily. And so the full rebirthing experience goes through all those stages of rebirth and brings us into a space of lucid mental clarity, and that's essentially what the rebirth is.